So good evening, sirs. So how's your week going? So before we start our today's class, how you doing, Mr. Collins? Okay, sir. Before we start our today's class, so let's quickly review what we did in the last one. Good evening. How you doing, sir? Yeah, thank you so much. So let's quickly review our last activity on where we stopped. Last time we talked about the JavaScript and we talked about why JavaScript is very important. We said JavaScript is used to make sure our site become more interactive and more dynamic. And also we talk about how we can be able to implement the JavaScript on our HTML page too. We said that JavaScript can be internal, can be external, and JavaScript can be added to our HTML page, whether we add it to the head section or we add it to the body section. And if we add the JavaScript to our HTML page, we are going to make use of the script tag. And after that again, we now discuss implement how JavaScript can be added to the head section and the script section. We say JavaScript will add to the body section, it will run once page load. While the JavaScript we add to the head section, that one is going to run based on the response from the user. And also we talk about the external JavaScript and internal JavaScript before we now look at some of the rules we have to follow when we are writing our JavaScript code. Also, we now try to look at the one word activity. Let me review some of those code we did in the last class. We talk about this code, we said that the JavaScript can be added to our HTML page. On this particular other page we implement the last class, we add a JavaScript to our page, and this is JavaScript we added. We create a JavaScript called other.js, and we say that once the JavaScript is going to be executed, it's going to be based on the user action, and JavaScript called other.js is there. We have a function inside it which we call get order that go to return a message when this get order function is called. And on the other page we have a button here which we call other buttons, that we say that once the other button is clicked, automatically the JavaScript is going to respond. You can see this button now, we call it get order. This get order is a function that we define inside the JavaScript called get order, and we add the on click event to it, that once this get order is being clicked, we want the function to execute. We also have another JavaScript here which is say that the moment the page is load, the JavaScript go to execute, and that JavaScript is what we put here in the script tag here. So this JavaScript here is going to be execute the moment page load. That is it. So if I preview the page again, let's see the two JavaScript effect now on our new page. You can see this one is now coming up once the page is load, and once I click on OK, the rest of the page is now loaded. That is it. So we say that this page is just to demonstrate what JavaScript is possible to do. Like for example now, we don't want anybody to make order for now, and that's why that we want to warn all the user that once they click on this order button, we want the pop-up message here to come up to say the order are currently not available, and this particular message is from the JavaScript code we have written. So this type of JavaScript code is going to execute when user click on the order button. So that is exactly what we do in the last class, how JavaScript can be added to our HTML page. But today now we want to go more and look more on the JavaScript again, so that we can now learn how we can be able to put some of the code together in JavaScript to perform a different task. So today we are going to look at what we call a variables in JavaScript, and I'm going to try to look at the operator too. Very important. When we talk about a variable in JavaScript, a variable is referred to as as a name location in the memory that can be used to store value. When you are writing a JavaScript to be able to carry out any operation, there sometimes you may want the JavaScript to process a data that is coming from your HTML form. So that data coming from your HTML form must be stored in a particular memory location. The memory location you are going to store the data to in your computer system must have a name. So whatever name we give to that memory location in our computer is what we call what a variables. Like for example now, if quickly now, okay, like this example work here now, let's assume that this is our memory word location of the computer system here now, and the memory location have a different type of the word of the block like this. They already prepare in the word in the computer word memory word location. Each of these space are the block where we can store what a data. Assuming now that in our HTML form now, we want to send a Java to JavaScript. We type a 5 as one data, we type 7 as second word data. Before 5 and 7 can be stored on location in your computer system like this, this location is going to contain 5, this location is going to contain what 7. Each of these location must have what a name. Whatever name you give to this location here like this is what we call what a variable. Whatever name give to the location your computer memory is what we call a variable. You cannot physically see that location, but it's here. You get it now? So you are the one you are going to assign the name to this location, name to this location. Whatever you like can call the name for your variable. But one thing is that what your variable name must what must be formed from letter A to what to Z. You get now, which you call what rules for what naming variable. You get it now? Rule for naming variables. So number one is that what it must be formed from what from letter what letter A to what to Z, or you can follow with 0 to what to 9. Any digit from 0 to 9 can be followed. That is the first rule in your variable. Secondly, your variable okay, for the variable must what must start with letter A to Z. You get it now? Or follow with digit 0 to what to 9. Secondly, variable must not contain space. Must not contain space and what okay, variable must not contain space. Okay, let me put it like this. Variable must have only what underscore. Exactly, must have only underscore with what with letters. You get it now? That is it. So these are some of the rules. And no keyword. This keyword are the JavaScript reserved word for variable name. You get it now? So like for example now, let me give you an example of what you call good variable. When you say good word variable, a good variables start from here. You get now? If I have the information like this, I say information, and these are the word variable for those information, and I say what variables. So if I'm going to name the variable for some of the information here, I can have what you call first name like this. I have basic salary like this. I also have email email address like this. So all there are some of the information that needed a variable. So if I'm going to create the variable for the first name, do you get it now? In JavaScript, I can say var f name. That's one. I can say first name. Do you get it now? That is it. Or I can use f name like this, fn. Do you get it now? So all these one are formed from what? From letter A to Z. I can also say f name 1 and so on like that. This is a good variable. The second one is this variable for salary. I can come down here and say var salary. That is very good variable. I can say per basic underscore salary like this. I can say bs for basic salary. I can also say salary salary 3222 like this, 223. You get now? This is a valid what? Variable name. The third one again for this, I can use this as a variable name by say var email. I can say var email add. You get now? I can say for email underscore what? Address. All these are the example of the good what? Variables. But once you have a variable like this, which is not what? Allowed, I call it wrong what? Wrong variables. A wrong variables, a wrong what? Variable start from here. When we say that what? Maybe I say okay, I say f for f name, and now say what? Hash. This is not a good variable here. Or if I say what? 23 name, this is not a good variable here. If I come down and now say what? Maybe basic salary. This is not a good variable here because of the space in between them. You get it now? So if I now come down here and say what? Maybe I use what? This one, call it what? Alert. This, if I say alert like this is not a good variables here. Or I say what? Window. It is not a good variable. So you don't write your variable like this. You get it now? So that's why that word. Because when you are writing a program, any data you want your JavaScript to store must be put in a variable. And to declare a variable, we have to use var whatever name, just like what I just did again. So you can assign a value to a variable in this way. When they say var employee, employee is a variable, while employee name is equal to Peter. That means I want to store the value Peter in this employee name. Another way you can say by employee name equal to what? Peter, or employee name equal to Peter. That is, you can declare your variable without using var. You can also declare variable by using what? Var. I get it now. So variables are very important when you are working well with what? A JavaScript. Let's look at one example very well quickly now before we move ahead, so that I can see the use of this particular word variable. So I want us to create a form that HTML is going to pass a value to JavaScript, and that value we pass to JavaScript, we are going to store in the JavaScript word variable. So with that again now, I'll look for a form we already created here before, maybe like a what? Our contact form. Or do I have any form for? Okay, I'm going to use contact form now. I'll save it as well using variable here. If I save as, I call it what? Maybe a login form. You get it now? I say login now .html. You get it? Login.html. So I will now change most of the information on this particular form now here. So the form here I'm going to do call a login wall. Okay, see what? Using what? Variable in login page now. Login page. Okay. Using variable in login page. That's one. So, and I don't need this Google map here. I remove this column. That's it again. Okay, so or I can leave it, but I don't need the Google map. That is it. So I remove this one, Google map. I remove this Google map here now. Okay, good. Maybe I can put something else there later. After that again, these are the form I want to use for the login. I can come down here and say what? Or login form here now. Login what? Form. Okay, so this is going to turn to username. Okay, and here is going to change at what? User what? Name now. I'm using as a username too. Then I'm going to be what? User name. So I will put this one too as well. User what? Name and user what? Name. Okay, so because of times again, I just want I will now return back here and remove all the information that remain here again now. I remove this. Good. I want the font to be very short. And the button here is going to be called what? Login now. I say login. Okay, good. So let me check out this particular form how to look like. This is my login, and here is the login. You can see now I want this particular piece so that when I enter the login here, I want the JavaScript to work to receive the information. Are you getting it now? That is it. So this time around now, I want to pass the value here to variable. What I'm going to do now is I'm now going to create what? A JavaScript file. Then I'm going to what? To process that what? Information the way I create the last time. So that my JavaScript file, I'm going to call it what? Variable. So I'm clicking on the new file here now. I'll now say variable dot what? Dot .js. Now, good. And before I come to that, I will return back to what? To my page here so that I can specify the new JavaScript I created, because I want this form to send the data to JavaScript file. So the JavaScript file I'm going to send the information to, I will call it here, just the way I call JavaScript on this one other page here now. You get it now? So I copy this now. I will now specify the JavaScript inside this particular else section here. So this is going to be a comment to let us know. Call it what? Calling external JavaScript here now. That's it. So my JavaScript file, I'll paste it here. If you look at it now, this is the JavaScript I want to call, which you call variable. So I'll specify the name of that JavaScript variable. I'll specify it here now. That variable JS. That is it now. So after I did that again, I want to click on this particular one, login button, to call that JavaScript function. You get it now? So first I will need to do now is to now create a JavaScript function here now, which I want it to accept a variable. And to do that, I'm going to use keyword called what? Function, like this. I will now say get what? Variable. That's the function. I say get variable function, like this. I will now press enter key. That is it now. So my HTML form here, which I say button, the button I want to click on to call that JavaScript is this, called login. So I will now apply the word, the event to that button, which is called on click this button now. I will now say equal to what? Get what? Variable. Because I already create a function, get variable what? Function. You get now, semicolon. The variable function I want to get is the one I just declare here. So which means that what? The moment I click on this login now, whatever code I already written inside the get variable function here, that code is going to get execute. So the code I want now is that what? I want the value I enter in this text box, I want to pass that value to what? To the JavaScript. That is the code I want to implement now. So for me to be able to work to do that again, I will pass the information inside the text box. I will pass it to JavaScript. But before that, I'll first declare a variable that I'm going to hold that information by saying var, I say user username. That is the variables. So when I say var username, I will now say username now equal to what is the name. Do you get it now? What name I want to give to username? The name I'm going to store in the username variable, I want it to come from HTML form here. So what I need to do now is that there's some JavaScript instruction that can use to get information from this HTML. Do you get it now? That JavaScript instruction is called document. I will now say document dot get element by ID. When you say document dot get element by ID, we are telling system that on this particular login page is what you call document. There are many elements on this login page like tr, table, td, label, input. All these are the even though including paragraph and href. Which of these elements that are there have an ID that is called username? If you go through all of them, you will not see element that have an ID called username except one, which is this one. Do you get it now? So in that case, because it is that username that is a text I want to retrieve the value from, I will now say get element by ID. I will now put your user name here. That is any element that ID username, system will now look for it in the HTML page I will say dot what? Dot value. Dot what? Value here mean what? Whatever you type inside that particular what? That element, system should retrieve it and store it in this JavaScript variable. The next thing is to display what system stored there. And to display it, I'm going to use document again and say document dot what? Dot write, because this is another instruction to display. Not only that, you can use alert. You can use alert to display. You can use document dot write to display. Also document dot write the information which I already store in this variable. I'll just come there and say document dot write what? Username. Can you see? This one way of displaying document this one way of display the value you enter in this place. Another way is this, by using document dot write again. Maybe I want to display it in using HTML element. I'll say document dot write again here. I'll now put the HTML in quotation like this. I'll put HTML element like what? Maybe H2. You get it now? H2 tag. I'll put H2 tag here. You get it now? When I put H2 tag, I'll now say what? Plus the variable name is called user what? Username. I will now say plus. I'm now closing the what? The H2 tag here now. And don't forget semicolon. This one means that what? Whatever value you store in the username, system should display using the H2 format. You know it's going to be very big. Now, let's see how this JavaScript code is going to execute. I say the JavaScript code, I say this HTML page. I can now return back here now. This time around now, I want to say username is going to be what? Michael K, like this. So when I click on what? Login. Let's see whether JavaScript go to display this one now. Can you see? Coming out here is from the JavaScript. You get now. And the JavaScript, where we store this value to in JavaScript is what? A variable. You get now. So when you store variable in JavaScript, it can be displayed. That is it. In addition to that one again, can I display information using alert again? Yes. What I can just do now is I will come down here and say what? Window dot what? Alert again. And at the same time, I will still going to put what? Username again. This is another way of displaying this information here. Because this one we are going to need to understand it one by one. As I save this one again here now, I return back to here now. And I'm putting another username, which is going to be what? Delight Enterprise here. And when I click on what? Login now. Can you see? This is window.alert, Delight.enterprise. Once I click on OK, the document.write will also display the remaining one here. That's another way. But there's sometimes that what? You might want the information in your HTML form to appear inside this HTML form. The information you pass to HTML form here to still appear inside the what? The HTML table. So in this case again, let me add another element to this HTML. And this time around now, the element now I'm going to give it another paragraph like this, another row. So that is, I will change the button to something else again here now. Do you get now? So what I want to do here is that I will name this one, I will say maybe feedback or output. So this output here means that I will now call this one output. You get it now? Because whatever the JavaScript process, I want that result of that JavaScript to appear here. That's why I'm using this output here now. You get it now? So when I click on this login, I want the JavaScript to display a message here. This is going to be what? I don't need placeholder here now. I can say what? Your result here now. Your result here. That's what I put on this one. And when I preview this page here now, can you see? That is your result here. So that is, when I click on this login, whatever I input down here, I want it to appear here. Do you get it now? That is it. So that's another way of display the output in JavaScript. There's sometimes you want the JavaScript to process the information and appear in your HTML form. But there's sometimes you want JavaScript to process information and display on the page. You are seeing how you can display it on a page and now you see how you can display it on the page, and now you can even do dot alert. Let's say I want you to appear inside the another element now. So since I already called this one output and it's an HTML element, id is called output, I will now mention it here again by say document.get element by id again here now. Then I will put the id call output here. But these three ones, let me comment them now because I don't want them to interfere with that result. That is it now. This is a comment. So now I will now say equal to username. What this one mean is that once you store the username in this variable, and I want to assign that username to the output text box here. So once I save this page, you get it now, and I'll return it back here. Whatever username I type here, once I click on the button, it will show this. It will show here again. Let's try again. I say Delight Enterprise, and once I click on Delight Enterprise, can you see it here? That is it. But sometimes I may want to say maybe login is successful sometimes. You get it now, and I want that message. Instead of this one again now, I'll say okay, Delight Enterprise welcome. I can put this message here and say welcome. I put in quotation and say plus Delight Enterprise. Can you see again? That means I want this welcome message to say welcome Delight Enterprise when I click on that name. So I can save this one and I return to this form and say okay, the Delight Enterprise okay, where is it now? Delight Enterprise name. I can click on login now. Can you see welcome Delight Enterprise? So the variable in JavaScript is what that allows to access this information from HTML and process it. And variable can do something much more than this. You get it now? Like what you do here now is use of variable that store the information. So we can declare as many variables as possible. But we see more example of how to use a variable now on this particular next topic here now. Now we want to look at what we call operator now. Operator used to carry out a lot of manipulation or computation. They say operator is referred to one or more character in JavaScript that can be used for computation or comparison. Operator can be used to modify the value that store in a variables. And there are different category of the operator. If for example now I have something like this particular variable, I say var num1, num2, num3 here now. These are the variable. Maybe now say num1 here now equal to 7, and I say num2 equal to 8. You get it now? So and here now I say num3 equal to 0. You know that I'm storing the different information in this variable. I can come down here and say that num3 here now equal to num1 plus num2 here. It means that the num3 that is initially 0 before, the content of this particular num3 will now change to num3 will be 15. Num3 will be 15. That means the num3 content has been modified using what we call operator. And that's why here they say this operator can be used to modify the value stored in the variables. That is it. But there are different type of operator we are going to look at, starting from arithmetic operator, assignment operator, and arithmetic assignment operator. So let's take it one by one. When we talk about arithmetic operator, these are the ones used to perform arithmetic operation on variables and literals. Literal are the value that are stored in the variable. Like the 7 I use store in the variable here is a literal. Like this 8 is a literal. Whatever information that store in the variable become a literal. Do you get it now? So we can use any of these operators to perform arithmetic operation on literal. Arithmetic operation involve addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and what? Modulus. The modulus is a divisible operation that return a remainder. Because for example now, if I have something like this type of division, if I say num 3 here equal to what? Num 2, I say divide by what? By 4 here. The answer I'm going to get is going to be what? To be 2. But look at it the same operation now. If I now say what? Num 3 modulus what? Modulus 4. The answer here is going to be what? To be 0, simply because this modulus means return the remainder of num 2 divided by 0 by 4. If I divide num 2 by 4, what's it going to remain? 0. That is what result we are expecting in this modulus operator. And that's why it different from what? From the other operator or divisible operators. Do you get it now? Another one is called assignment operator. They are used to assign a value or result of expression to a variable. Like here now, I already performed the operation here. That is, the result of this expression here is going to be assigned to this 3, num 3. And the same thing is going to be assigned to num 3. That's where we have what we call arithmetical assignment operator. So JavaScript can perform this type of this operation. For example now, look at this another application on our JavaScript code there now. Apart from this one I've done now, let's assume that after user input the value, I declare variable like I say var1, var num1, I say equal to what? Equal to 7, like what you just see there now. And I say var1, num2 now, I say equal to what? To 8 again here now. You see? And I say var1, var num3 now, and I say equal to what? Num1 plus what? Plus num2. That means I want to add the value of num1 and num2. I want to store it in num3. So whatever the result, I now want to display it. You get it now? So I can use the result. I can use document.display here to display it here now. Document.write here to display that result by coming down here and now say what? Num3, I'll say what? Num3 is inside there. I'll now put num3 here because it's a variable that store the result. Now let me comment this one temporarily. So that means this my code now. Once I click on that login, do you get it now? It's going to display the result of the num3. That is it. Clicking on the login display result of num3. So let's see how it's going to be like this now. And that will be what? Around something like 15. So the moment I return to here now, and I click on what? Login here now. Can you see? Num3 is 15. That means addition is already performed there. That is it. You get it now. So this is how this particular this has been performed. But I want us to make it in a much more standard way now. So I want us to use how this operator can be used for something like a calculator with JavaScript. So which means that we are going to try to recreate our form like this now. Then I'm going to have the first text box here and the second text box here now to accept the number. While this next one here is going to be to be button, we can call addition. And also the last one here is now going to be another interface that going to contain the result of addition. Maybe I now put I put 5 here, I put 7 here, and when I click on this plus, system should give me 12. How can we create something like this particular a form in HTML? Do you get it now? And whatever number we enter in that HTML, we will now pass it to JavaScript variable, then go to hold the value and carry out the calculation work for us. So to do that again, I'm going to change the form I initially created here, which I call login form. I will now transform that login form to to calculator. Do you get it now? So you see I have 2 minutes for this session again. I'll click on save as, this will now become what? Calculator. You get it now. That is it. If I can call it basic calculator. Basic calculator now. I press enter key. You get it now. So here now I can start changing this information. This is going to be what? Basic calculator form now. So this is going to be what? Number. Enter what? Enter number 1. So I will turn this one to what? Number 1 now. Okay, that's the first name, and this is going to be number 1 2, and this next one here is going to be what? Please, number 1 going to be what? Enter number 1. So I cannot duplicate this particular word section for the second number here now. So here now I'm putting this one there. This is going to be what? Number 2. Okay, this will be number 2, this will be number 2, and this will be number 2 again. And this one now, instead of login button, I'll now turn it to what? To button for what? Addition. This is a plus sign here now. You get it now. That is it. And this is going to be where the output is going to be. I will leave it the way it is here now, as the what? As the output. You get now. But when I click on this plus button, I want to create a function that I'm going to perform addition. I can say get what? Get plus. Do you get it now? Get what? Plus. That's a form. One more thing I need to change on this form is that what? The JavaScript code that I'm going to process that calculator. Do you get it now? Because it is in JavaScript, I'm going to write the calculation for calculator. I will specify the name to create it here. I'm going to call it what? Calculator JS now, which means I must create this calculator JS. Let me create it before this particular word times run out. So I will return to my script section, new file, calculator.js. That's all now. So let me preview this calculator page too before this time runs out. Good, you can see. So we already have a calculator word appear here now. So the next thing to write is JavaScript and go to continue the processing. But I'll save this one now because we don't have more time, so that the next page will now start writing the code for it. So minimize this.